Hello everyone, welcome back to the next episode of In Conversation With. My name is Clow and today I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Purves, who is a current player of the team. Hello Tom, thank you for joining me. How are you?
Hi, thanks. I'm good, thanks. I'm really good.
For everyone at home, Tom, tell us more about yourself. Do you study at USW?
So I'm going to enter into my third year of popular and commercial music in the Atrium in Cardiff. I was half Scottish, half Portuguese. I grew up in Belgium, and I moved to Cardiff 3 years ago, and I'm going to be doing my second year now doing USW Futsal.
So, I'm going to get straight into the questions. Tom, how would you describe futsal if you could use one word?
With one word?
Yes, one word.
Intense.
So, what does the sport mean to you, personally?
Well, what I'd say with the sport, it's very different to football, I think. And that was my mistake at the beginning, because I just thought it was a bit the same. It was five-a-side, because it is five-a-side technically, but it's definitely not your typical five-a-side. And I'd say it's kind of very misinterpreted, because when I got in there and playing with those people and understanding it, it was quite difficult actually getting into it in terms of understanding exactly what the game is. But it's a very different game. It should be treated really as its own different kind of sport. I think the misconception is if you're good at football, you'll be fine in futsal, and I learned quite quickly that's very different. So I think for me, it's a very different sport altogether. Really, it just comes across as an easier version of football, but it really isn't. It's just completely different. If anything, it's actually harder.
So tell me your experience of being a futsal player for USW. How did it all come about?
Well, so when I was in first year, I stupidly missed out on joining sports, and I was late with going to all the trials and stuff. So second year I wanted to make sure I got to some form of trial. So I went to a football trial, and I actually bumped into Rob Pritchard, and he was advertising futsal to me, and I sort of ignored it, and I did the football trials, and then it came up again. I didn't make it to the main teams in football, and I thought, okay, well, I'll give futsal a try, and then maybe if there's another football trial as well. And then I turned up very early in the morning, earlier than anyone else. Really early in the morning as well, because I had to come from Cardiff, and met everyone, and I realised everyone was very experienced already, and it was quite difficult at the beginning. I thought it was just going to be quite just an easy kickabout, but the training straight away was difficult, meeting all the coaches, and then it took me a while to get my first game, but quite quickly already with the training and everything, it was difficult, because I think everyone knew what they were doing. There weren't many people who were new really, apart from me. So I came in very ignorant, and overall I'm very lucky that I got into it. But my main reaction was just, how come never heard about it before? It was just someone just mentioned it, and no one mentioned it before about it, and so I thought it would just be quite chilled, but it wasn't at all. So that's sort of the aim for next year, is to really get people talking about it and understanding what it is.
Is playing futsal in Cardiff your first experience of playing it?
First experience of playing it properly, because I played more or less futsal, I suppose you could say, with the same rules back at home, but really not the same level, or really understanding it. It was more just wasn't a futsal, it was just sort of football but with fewer players. And I thought it was the same thing, but it's no. So real futsal, this was my first year really knowing and playing with people who play it professionally, nice. Including in FPW. Yeah.
So, what is the best futsal game you've been involved in?
I'm trying to remember some of the games. It's either games that we won comfortably, and that's for obvious reasons. But there was other. We played against like Bangor, I think, and we played it. We smacked them, and I scored, and I don't score that many goals. So there's that. And then on the other side, I quite like the local games we had in Cardiff. I think we played Cardiff once, and it might have been 1-1 or something, and we just managed to get a point. And that was a good game, because it was tough, and we played very well. So I'd say those are probably the best games.
Obviously, earlier you just mentioned how unexpected the difference in futsal is to like football, for example.
Yeah.
Would you recommend people to start playing futsal?
Absolutely, yeah. What I learned as well when I come back from playing futsal, I think five-a-side in general is so popular as a normal sport. I think maybe even more than 11-a-side. So when you're just playing football normally, or with friends or whatever in the park, you're probably going to play a five-a-side, and then you realise actually it's a slightly different dimension to it. Whereas You haven't got 11 players. So I would recommend it. I think it's really, you could say it's more applicable when you're just having a kickabout, because then you start to think about things a lot more tactically, and and it's a lot more intense as well. I do feel it's more intense. So I would recommend it, definitely, absolutely.
What would you say are the benefits of playing futsal in your opinion?
Well, slightly the above mentioned. I think when you're playing with other people, you start to understand the game a bit differently, especially when it comes to if you're playing, say, normal football 11-a-side. You're quite restrained to your own positions. Whereas when you're playing futsal, you're kind of doing everything. There's a lot more movement. There's a lot more initiative that needs to be done. So I'd say that is definitely an advantage. You burn a lot. You get a lot more tired, I feel. But no, I'd say definitely you see the game a bit different. You start to you do more. You're not restricted to one little thing. You're not, even as a goalkeeper, sometimes you're playing fly and you have to use your feet. So you end up learning a lot more about different aspects of the game compared to, I feel, normal football. You might just be restricted to one position. So it's a lot more flexible, I'd say.
Finally, what are you most looking forward to next season, joining that with the team?
Next season, definitely playing, especially when now I know exactly I'm going to be playing more. I know some of the teammates already. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hopefully having lots of other players, which would be brilliant. We have enough teams and people who are willing to play. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm really just looking forward to playing again. I'm playing more minutes. I'm looking forward definitely to playing a lot more games and getting back into it. But certainly with more players, that'd be the main goal, I think, to get a really solid team.
You got any personal aspirations, a goal target or anything?
Get more goals. Just get more goals. I just didn't get enough. Yeah.
Right, we're going to move on to some more funny and light-hearted questions now. Amongst your USW teammates, who do you think would be longest in the shower?
I was thinking about that. I would have to say, I do seem to remember, I think Rob took his time. Turner. I do remember Ryan as well, because he loves playing his music. So he's always hanging around. It's not really, I'd probably say the two of them, really. I certainly was quick. I think I was definitely the quickest, but it's usually whoever's playing the music was there the longest, I'd say probably Rob or Ryan. Yeah.
Talk about music. Who do you think's got the worst taste in music?
Yeah, I was thinking of that as well. I think I'm trying to think who played most of the music. I think a lot of us maybe a lot of us had really bad taste who didn't actually want to play music. Especially me, I felt there was too much pressure. But I would say Ryan sometimes would play some questionable things, or maybe Kieran as well, but I'd say probably Ryan.
So who would you say is always late to games or training?
Me and Lewis Gate, probably, but that's understandable because we always had to take the train from Cardiff at about 5 in the morning, and it was horrible. So if we missed one train, we'd usually come a bit late, whereas the Treforest lads would all drive for about 2 minutes, so I'd have to take the blame for that, but it's understandable.
Would you say any of your teammates are like a teacher's/coach's pet?
I'd say maybe Lewis Gate. Definitely not the experience, but I think the older ones like Rob and Ryan and Bill would usually have arguments. I was quite a teacher's pet as well, because what I wanted to do since I was new was just try and understand as much as I could and make sure I was at least working hard. So I wouldn't sort of figure things out on my own, because I would just not do it well. So I think I would probably be the one, because I just asked the most questions. I just asked all the questions and then just did whatever they said. They would tell me to do anything, keep an eye on the corner flags, and I would do it. So at least I was doing something. So probably me again. Yeah.
I don't blame you for that. So who would you say is like the first asleep either on the bus to a game?
Oh, Rob Pritchard. Rob, without doubt. He doesn't say anything. He comes, first game I think we played Brighton, and it was a 5-hour trip, and I was thinking, well, this could be quite fun. Ryan might play music. It'd be good. And Rob came with a pillow, fell asleep the whole time. Straight, as soon as he was in, just dead quiet. Lewis Gate's a bit like that as well. They're quite quiet. But I would be the same as well. I like to sleep on. So, but definitely Rob.
And finally, who has the worst chat-up lines?
I hear I could say Lewis Gate, but he might argue quite a bit about that. I just hear that it's either good or it's bad. I think but I hear the most about those guys. I can imagine Ryan's is probably quite bad as well.
Right, anyway, I think that wraps up today. I've had great fun. Thank you, Tom, for joining me. It was an absolute pleasure. And
Thank you very much. It's been great fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the team next season. So yeah, that was the next episode of In Conversation With. Join me next time for another interview with one of the players. Thank you for everyone for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.